Welcome to Angels of Light Foundation, a voice for children and teenagers podcast. We are giving a platform to our younger voices, children and teenagers, sharing their thoughts on our mindfulness in nature programs and books, plus the educational system. Asking them what type of school would they want to learn in? What would they like to see change in our world? Finding out what gifts they hold and why they feel they are here on this planet. We believe, as parents and educators, that we should strive to raise children with a voice and for them to be heard. Welcome to the Magic of Miracles. This is A Voice for Children through the Angels of Light Children's Foundation. And today we have Hafez Sadeghi, and we'd like to welcome you onto A Voice for Children. So welcome to our podcast, and thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
No, you're welcome.
I think it's quite a coincidence because I think I met you in Malibu, and Joseph, which has already been on the podcast for the Voice of Children, said to me, "You have to meet this guy. He'll be great for the podcast." And we kind of just exchanged numbers.
Yeah, and I was talking to Terry. I think it was maybe 2 to 3 days after, and she said that it was completely out of the way for you, so you were there just by coincidence.
I wasn't gonna go. I normally don't go that way at all. But that morning, something said to me, "Go get a coffee at Blue Bottle." And I thought, okay, let me just go get a coffee at Blue Bottle, and that's how I met you, because I never go down that way normally. So yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
well,
and it was interesting because we asked Joseph so many times, to find us somebody, and one of his friends was meant to come on, but then last minute he said no, he didn't want to come on, and then we met you, and so it's like, oh, okay, that's great. So because we wanted more boys to share their voice, a lot of girls are easy to do so, but less of the boys. So thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
We wanted to start off because obviously you're very interesting in the way that you've gone in and out of education, and obviously because we have a children's foundation, mindfulness through nature. I'm going to start off with that topic because I feel it's very important on the diversity that's going on the planet around education, the last few years. So I know that you've been in, is it public schools and homeschooling? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
You've been in both.
I was homeschooled for a year.
Right.
During the pandemic. And I feel like prior to the pandemic, besides myself, a lot of people had this same perception that homeschooling was just, a kid by himself in his room doing homework all scared, and his mom was yelling at him. That was my perception. And the 1 year that I was homeschooled was probably the year that I progressed the most in all aspects of my life, educationally, physically, mentally. I think my connection with nature really developed that year. And I think it really created this new perception for me that this is a new area of education that should be shared and brought all over. And in some ways, my views on education were very limited. I was a big supporter of, public schools, private schools, just very traditional American education. And, then COVID happened, and I did this for a year, almost a year and a half, and it completely opened my eyes to a new realm. So
in which way did it open your eyes? Because I don't want people to think we're knocking the system, because everyone's different. Some people like to be in school, some people like to be in private, some people like to be in public, some people like to be homeschooled. So just want to make that clear. But what changed for you? What really, hit home in your heart for you regarding that homeschooling?
Well, I think this was just my personal experience. It's not going to be the same experience for any other person, but I was going through a time in my life where I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be part of the crowd. I was 12, 13 years old, and I did not apply myself in school at all. I did not try. I did not do my homework. I got into trouble a lot as a kid, and there was this there's big uncertainty in my life. And then COVID happened.
Yeah.
And it was when you're watching a YouTube video and it starts to get very blurry, and to kind of combat that blurriness, you press pause
Yeah.
And then all like the resolution just becomes clear.
Oh, interesting.
That was kind of COVID for me. I had that opportunity to pause,
Yeah, and get clarity.
let everything become clear. And my education was a big part of that. And the reason it had such a big impact on me was mainly the teacher. We met this great woman who taught pods and taught different subjects such as languages, math, English. She's a great English teacher, great literature teacher, and she really helped me progress academically, in terms of critical thinking, English, math. I started, developing my love for language, developing my love for literature, and I really honed in on my skills, my strengths, and also developed my weaknesses simultaneously. And I think that because of that tailored education,
Right.
I was able to be where I am now. So I think it did play a big part in my development.
It's interesting. Did you find then, I agree, I think we were all on fast forward, and I think, COVID gave us the time to set that repause button, replay, or not replay, but, set the pause button, have a look,
Yeah.
Sit back, observe everything, and then change what we didn't like. Did you find that when you were in your school before the pandemic, do you find it's just too go that you actually can't process a lot of things? Do you think it's too much, too quick, too much of everything?
Everything is fast forward.
Well, no, it's too much of everything. Do you find, is that what you felt?
Yeah, definitely. I think right now, a word and just way of living that I really value is balance.
So
Balance in all areas.
yes,
I feel like
I know
public schools now,
yeah,
they're not balanced at all.
that's why I was asking you. I know that because I go into them with my children's stuff, but I wanted you to tell me, you know what I mean? I don't want to put words in your mouth. Is the fact that you're running from lesson to lesson, homework from homework. So it's just to the point you
can't absorb.
Well, you switch off, like you were saying.
Yeah.
It wasn't really, it's like,
Yeah.
I can't, So if you
100%.
found there's no balance in the system, in the one that you were in.
Yeah, like you said, it's just go, go, go. There's
Yeah,
no
I've been in
there's
them.
no pause, and
No.
I think there's no connection with what you're learning. You're just learning
That's
to
interesting.
understand one topic, and then you're going to be moving on to the next in a very short period of time.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And I felt like for myself, I did not fully understand, and I did not appreciate what I was learning.
Oh, that's
Because
interesting.
it's rushed, it can't process, and there's different ways of learning. And maybe it was just on a board, was it? And you've got your pens and paper, and right. Yeah, I think you're right. So that time that you had time to go out, you mentioned the part about nature and
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, my family has always really valued nature, going in nature, to ground yourself, to just be more mindful, to combat, I don't know, stress or anxiety. And I've always had that part of my life.
Yeah.
But like I stated before, my priorities were mixed up. I was all about, pleasing other people, fitting in, and a family that like, oh, we're going to nature today. Like no one did that. And so I was like, oh man, I don't want to do it because it's not normal. And so during COVID, I had no influence from other people, none of my friends.
Oh, that's interesting.
And so this was a time where
He was with himself. Well, he was with his family. He had to go anyway, but he didn't do him. Yeah. Oh.
And so I was able to kind of cultivate this new, just whole and transparent version of myself. And one of the ways was through, homeschooling, this education. Also, COVID was a huge time for the people in my neighborhood. My neighborhood is a horse community. And so many people have livestock, chickens, goats, and sheep. And we had some barren land in our backyard, with stables from when we bought our house. And so all these people, all of our neighbors, were moving from California to, I don't know, Austin, Idaho.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And they had nowhere to put their animals. And so my dad was like, hey, like you can just give them to us, because his dream was to always have a farm.
Oh, wow.
And so we just started taking animals and learning day by day how to, raise crops, how to take care of chickens, goats, sheep. I remember at one point, this was maybe it was definitely after a year of COVID, maybe June of 2022. Actually, no, later or earlier. We had about 120 animals
Oh my God.
because silly us, we thought, oh, they're gonna just not reproduce if we keep them separate. And there was this one goat we had who was like a state champion for being like the biggest goat. He was maybe 8 feet tall when he would stand up.
Oh wow.
And this guy one day he just came and just impregnated everyone, and we had like 60 goats all of a sudden.
That is hilarious.
Wow.
Yeah.
Still
And so,
have all that amount of animals?
well, we did have to
Yeah. That's a
give
lot.
some away and sell some just because of water requirements and the drought. We had too many for the capacity of our land and also the capacity of our water. So we've kind of, shrunk down to maybe 25 to 30 goats. But it was through this, connection with nature, like with goats, animals, like through this, I learned to milk goats, milk sheep, shear sheep, feed these animals. And it was a way where we were able to connect with others and create a community. Like people would be coming over, we'd be, I don't know, milking goats together, feeding them, like doing all the work.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And I think, COVID was a time where everyone was away, everyone was apart. And that's when, loneliness or depression crept in to people's
Right.
lives.
Yeah.
And so through this, we kind of gave an outlet for other people to come and share this experience of nature with us.
So do you think going through that gives you a much better understanding or being more grateful to your life, to nature, to what you have around you, to what you've gone through?
100%. I think these things that I've experienced are what make me me. And the way I was raised, it was just very, very holistic, a lot of different things and I never really appreciated that growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But after COVID, I had a completely I don't know, it was a paradigm shift. I was like, wow, like all these things that have been brought forward in my life that I've been ignoring or not wanting, they're all gifts. And so this feeling of gratitude just came that I could have been a completely different person.
Right.
During COVID, I don't know, started, I don't know, just playing video games all day like some of my friends, or just not really utilizing that the world has just taken a break.
Yeah, it's taken a breath.
Yeah,
100%.
exactly.
Did you find that when you were working with the animals and with the nature, did you find that heart connection with them? Did you feel that it was, like when you're starting to work around nature and really work on the land and with the animals, there becomes there should be a connection, right? A
Yeah.
feeling from each animal, like what they want, or there's just an energy about how we're treating them and the whole thing. Did that come into your surroundings or into your well-being at all?
Yeah, I noticed one of the things, I just felt a lot calmer. I
Interesting.
felt a lot calmer when I was with them.
Wow.
Oh.
And I think it's because these animals are they're very simple. Their
Yeah.
only goals in life are to eat, to sleep, to drink water. And I think
And they're connected to the land as well.
they're
They're
connected
not
to the
living in a
land.
concrete building or a wooden
No,
house. They're
no,
literally
they
on
live off the land.
Yeah.
And I think in our time, there's so many different, we call them natural instincts, but they're just human instincts that society has pushed upon us. Like, I don't know, having AC or having all these amenities, which are considered normal. And I think seeing these animals being so simple and being so connected with the land really inspired me, really put
You're
a
right.
new,
They are calm and peaceful. It's
yeah.
humans that aren't. Yeah, you're right.
I think I felt, coming back to that word balanced,
Yeah.
I just felt very balanced whenever I was with them. And sometimes I would completely question this. I'd be like, why am I shoveling all the
poop.
all the poop in the yard? Like why is this change? Why did it happen so quickly? And why am I the one doing this stuff. And yeah, of course there'd be those inevitable times, but that is when the gratitude would set in immediately. Like, wow, like this is a blessing to have this, to experience this.
Yeah.
This.
It is a blessing. I think it is a blessing that it came into your life. And obviously your dad, he's manifesting of years ago of wanting to have a farm, landed in this lap when he paused, probably, because they say that, don't they?
Normally comes in.
They say when you pause and when you're not pushing, you just allow whatever you really love lands in your lap. So obviously it landed in your dad's lap. And
Yeah.
I wanted to just also ask you, because so we know that you obviously are training with the Wim Hof. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, that's correct.
Because my son attended one of the sessions. What was your first encounter? Why did you go do that? I mean, I know it was really, again, through that time period of pause on this planet.
Yeah.
That Wim Hof thing really took off, didn't it? Like everyone was doing it at home. They were buying the baths, and it really, he really was like trying to help people with their mindset, along with many others. But so what made you want to do that?
Well, to take it back from the beginning, I've always loved the ocean. I grew up surfing, swimming, and I like I said prior, my connection with nature kind of was dwindled throughout my life from, like, I don't know, 10 to 12. But I always had this deep connection with the ocean that I kind of took a break from encountering. But I want to say maybe 2 years ago, my dad, he said, "Oh, like, we're going swimming tomorrow at 4 a.m." And I'm like, "What do you mean? Like, what are we doing?" It's like, "Oh, well, I met this guy and he wants to take us. Like, we're all going to go together and just swim a little bit." And my dad has been terrified of the water, terrified of ocean his entire life, just because of his upbringing.
Yeah.
And so I said, "Hey, I want to help you with this. I want to help you with this fear."
Right.
And I saw that just with our schedules, my dad and I, we kind of, our connection grew a little bit apart the past, I don't know, 4 months during this time. And the one time that we didn't have any conflicting schedules, it happened to be at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, wow.
Which is, it's funny. But so we went the first time, and I don't think my dad even came in, and we came with all these like wetsuits. He's like, "Oh, put this wetsuit on. It's going to protect you from the cold. Put this cap, put these booties." And I was like, why do we need all this? Are we going to like Antarctica? I thought we are just going to Santa Monica. And he's like, "Oh no, like, don't worry, you'll see." And so we go, and there's like this really dark parking lot, and we park, and there's this hole in the fence. We go through this hole in the fence and walk down maybe a mile, and we're in this really dark, ominous beach right by the Santa Monica Pier. And this is where we've been swimming every Saturday for the past 2 years.
Wow.
At 5 o'clock in the morning. And we've really built a community. So this is basically how I started with the ice bath. It's just we built this community, and people just started inviting other people. And there was a gentleman who you've met, Simon Gowan, who is a professional Wim Hof coach. And I said, "Hey, I'd love to try this one day," because I've always had this idea that, oh, the cold, it's something you need to like protect yourself from, something you need to like run away from, something you need to get wetsuits and all these things. And basically I went, and he has this, I mean, you've seen his setup. It's like a bath. It's like a refrigeration unit attached to almost like a bathtub.
Yeah.
First time I went in, I was like, "Whoa, this is something else. This is like a different beast to conquer. The ocean is one beast, but this is something completely different."
Yeah.
And so my family and I, every Friday morning before school, and before my parents had to go to work, we just go to this guy's house in Venice, and we just all, go in the ice bath. I think it was 5 of us. Simon would come, and it'd just be like I don't know, almost like a family gathering. Like, Simon at this point is family to me.
Right.
So
yeah.
then after doing it for about a year, I could, the first time I went in for maybe 30 to 45 seconds.
Right.
And then after a year of doing it, I could sit in, 32-degree water for 20 to 25 minutes.
Mm.
And through this, my dad was able to take off the wetsuit, take off all the, swimming gear, and we were able to go in the water without a wetsuit, and we inspired all these other people to come in. So now we have a group of about 105 to 110 people that, started out with, just the two of us, and they all come in no wetsuit in water that currently is, 45 to 47 degrees.
And what do you find, when you're doing that? What happened for you? What do you feel changes for you when you're, for people that are listening who haven't done it, who haven't experienced it?
So there are mental aspects and there are physical aspects.
Right.
The physical aspect, like what's going on internally, is your body is, once it gets into this cold, it's trying to cover all your organs, and it's trying to get you to come out as fast as possible.
Correct.
And the way to, help and sustain this feeling is by breath.
Correct.
That's what Wim Hof says. Like
Yeah.
he created the breathing method to help with cold immersion. And after a while, what starts to happen is brown fat starts to be produced. So there's white fat, which is like what happens when you eat a lot or don't exercise, and there's brown fat, which is healthy fat. And this happens if you expose yourself to, cold, whether that be taking a cold shower, going in the ocean. If you do that for at least 11 minutes every week, brown fat starts to be produced. And this is basically like, I don't know if you've seen these like Patagonia down jackets that keep you insulated.
Yeah.
This fat basically acts as, a Patagonia jacket. It keeps you insulated. It keeps you, just warm when you're in the cold. And it also acts as a place to store energy. So there is a lot of mitochondria in this brown fat. So it's very healthy fat, and it doesn't take too much space. Like you don't develop a belly for brown fat. It's healthy fat. So what happens with cold immersion, which happened to me, is all my white fats start to turn to brown fat.
Oh, wow.
And this was for, going in the ice and going in the ocean several times a week. And the mental aspects.
Yeah, I would say it's very on the mental.
It's very mental. And I like to relate this practice to anything in life, trying anything new in life, going into new environments. There is going to be a period, which is like 30 to 45 seconds of panic, of doubt, where all your inner insecurities, inner judgments come up.
Yeah.
And this is the most important time in the entire practice. It's just
when you're in that water and that 35 seconds, so your brain
starts first 30 seconds, because your brain is like, what am I doing? Why am I here? Right. Why am I in a new environment? And once you kind of just tell yourself and breathe, tell yourself it's going to be okay, like you're safe, and you just adapt after breathing and just controlling your mind, that's when you can go on for 15 to 20 minutes beyond.
So do you then, obviously this is what I've heard from listening to some of the interviews of Wim Hof, because I understood why he started it in the first place, because his wife had mental health issues and she actually committed suicide. So I remember why he started this. So he knew that the brain, do you find that the cold resets the brain, you think? Yeah,
I think it does reset the brain. The one thing that definitely does reset is your vagus nerve, which is the nerve responsible for stress and anxiety, or fight or flight.
Yeah.
And so every time you're going into a panic state, overcoming it and just kind of, going back to that calm essence, that's when the vagus nerve gets reset. And so the goal is to reset this vagus nerve as many times as possible, because it gets jammed, it gets blocked up a lot because of all our stress. And I don't know, someone cut me off in line, or someone, ran a red light, and you're stressed out about daily life, and it's inevitable that it's going to get clogged up.
I think it's a reset button, that cold.
It is.
It's
It
like
is.
when we used to take people to a retreat in Brazil, and we used to all go to this magnificent, beautiful waterfall, freezing, natural, but it was all the way down, and there was butterfly. It was just magical, and it used to take your breath away when you got in, but when you left, it was
It's
like
a reset button.
there was definitely
There's a
like
level of calmness.
you'd had a baptism.
Yeah.
Strangest feeling when you went in and come out. And it's right, really, because a lot of people went in with could hardly walk when they went in, and when they come out, they found they could walk a lot better. So I feel it is definitely a reset mind button, and that's what you're training in that now. Is that correct?
Yeah, after a year of doing it, Simon approached me and says, "Hey, I wanna start getting a group of teens together, because I feel, especially now, teens are, teen stress, teen suicide is at an all-time high."
Yeah, this is what we were covering. This is brought up every week. Why do you think that is? Why do you think this is on every conversation that we're having on here? This comes up. What do you think has triggered this within that youth, within that teenagers? What's going on? As you're one of them, in my day growing up, never heard of it. It was probably very rare, very, very sparse, very rare.
Yeah, well, let's take a time like the 80s and compare them with, I don't know, 2023. For one, the biggest thing that I see: no social media, no phones. A lot of the practices were still the same. A lot of the, minor issues were still the same. But I believe that, especially in Los Angeles, there was just a stigma about social media. And there is this, in some ways, ingenuity
Right.
that has been created about social media. And I think that's one of the reasons we're seeing this rise in depression and suicide, because people are having issues connecting in real life, but it's so much easier to connect over a screen.
Right.
So do you feel there's a level of an emotional disconnect in terms of?
Well, it's a false, maybe they're giving, unless it's a different type of media platform, do you think they're given a false self? Like, this isn't my authentic self. They're selling stuff. They're on media. It's not really the authentic self. So they have to keep up that image all the time. We're not saying everybody, but for the ones that are. So that's exhausting.
Correct,
You can tailor your image on your social media platform, specifically Instagram. You can tailor to who you are. So what I've seen with my friends is they act a certain way on social media.
Yeah, it's completely different when you meet them.
Completely different.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest difference.
It's not real. Yeah, it's an illusion.
I feel like there have been methods that have been marketed to deal with anxiety and stress. One of them is vaping.
Got you.
That's gone off big in the UK. I was there in August, and everyone's vaping. I'm like, what's this? And then they were like, oh, but it's because it's calming and it's not like smoking, but everyone's doing it.
But the reason, sorry, go ahead.
I have a question for you, because I'd like to understand, because when I grew up as a teenager, there was different discussion on music, discussion on about life. What are the discussions that you guys have at the moment as a teenager, in terms of when you sit in a group? What do you talk about? Do you talk about social media? What do you guys talk about? I'd like to know about that.
Yeah, I think there are many different types of people I surround myself with. So I tailor my conversations to who I'm with.
Okay.
So, for example, someone who is able to have a conversation, I don't know, about philosophy or music,
okay,
or politics, I speak with that person. But it's mainly the average conversations that I have with my friends are about sports.
Okay.
Sports, I don't know, music. If a new artist has dropped a new album, we kind of we talk about it. We share our opinions. Girls, of course.
But is there a level of authenticity in the conversation, or it's more related
if he's doing one-on-one, it should be more authentic. I find that it's.
I do think it depends on the person.
Got you.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you.
It does depend on the person. And one of the reasons I, said yes to Simon and said, "Oh, I'd love to help you out," is because I feel like we are given so many fake ways to deal with our anxiety or stress.
Yeah, I agree.
Quick ways, like you take a hit of a vape, you're feeling
Yeah.
great,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's not sustained throughout, your entire day. And so I was trying to be a, I don't know, example and show people that, hey, you can deal with your anxiety and stress completely naturally, and you can, get to this level of serenity and peace by, I don't know, going in nature or going in the ice bath.
Yeah, I agree. Breath work, nature,
Yeah.
ice bath, they've really come up working with that. What do you do, what mindfulness? How do you bring mindfulness into your life? What do you do?
I think, yeah, number one for me is nature.
Do you know
And
that's everyone's answer that we've
yeah,
interviewed? And
yeah,
this is youth, this is young children, even young girls. This isn't like adults. So nature brings in that mindful moment. How do you get the mindful moment? What does it do for you?
well, I think especially now it's very easy to get caught up in life. It's very easy to just be caught up in, I don't know, school and who's dating who's winning what. And I believe we all need a moment just to kind of pause, like we've been talking about, um, and just be ourselves, be mindful of ourselves, look at ourselves from a different perspective, and see who we are being.
So when you're out in nature, what you're trying to say is that you're sort of reviewing yourself from a third person or a second person. Like when I'm out walking in nature, it's like I am looking at the nature and I'm immersing myself in the nature and connecting to everything, but also having like a panoramic view of myself as well. So it's like I'm out but looking in to adjust things, like do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm definitely looking at myself from a different perspective.
Yeah, that's like
And
second or third person. And do you feel that do you feel nature ever talking to you when you're in it? Like, do you ever go up and hug a tree or touch a tree or look at the birds or get a message through Mother Nature? Have you ever experienced that?
I notice one thing that really helps me and grounds me is just walking barefoot.
Yeah.
um, just feeling my feet touch the grass or dirt.
Mm.
I feel like I do have a connection with nature, like you're saying, like whether that be with animals, working with animals, um, just with, I don't know, trees or plants. We have a garden that I work in, and
Do you talk to them? Just asking.
to the plants,
Yeah. To the animals, to the plants, to the
okay,
trees.
to
I do.
animals, of course. I haven't tried talking to plants. Maybe today will be my first day, but I do think that there are so many natural ways to ground ourselves
Yeah,
and
I think nature's the
forget,
beast.
not forget, but take a break from life. And I feel like life is kind of based on two words. It's like right or wrong or bad or good.
Yes, that's what's
And
going on at the minute. Yeah.
yeah,
True.
Yeah.
and there's this poem by Rumi. It goes like, out beyond the field of wrongdoing and right doing, there's a field where I'll meet you.
Nice.
And that's where I like to be whenever I'm in nature.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's good, bad, wrong, right.
Exactly. It's
I'm
just
just
all
me.
fits perfectly.
Yeah. And I'm just gonna be aware of what I'm doing, what I can do better, what I'm not doing well enough. And I think that's like putting mindfulness in the most basic form, just being aware.
If you could have your, let's just say someone said, there you go, Hafez, what type of school would you like to build for the children? What type of school would it look like for you?
I think definitely at least some utilization with nature.
A nature-based type of school?
Yeah, I mean it's a lot to ask for. Ideal scene would be nature-based type of school. In Los Angeles, some utilization with nature, maybe a garden, or I don't know, instead of PE or additional to PE, they could go on hikes. But I think one thing that is not taught, especially in lower grades,
Yeah.
is growth mindset. I'm actually taking a critical thinking class right now, and kind of the core theme of the class is growth mindset and grit and how they go hand in hand.
Just explain that
Yeah,
growth mindset
yeah,
to
for those
the audience that
listening.
doesn't. Yeah, let's just give a bit of depth to that.
So growth mindset is taking, I don't know, past occurrences. Let's say you get a bad score on a test, not looking at it like, oh man, it's my fault, but looking at it as, wow, like this is an opportunity to grow. So just
Yeah.
continuously finding ways to make yourself, better and grow in whatever field you're in. And so I think as a kid, we never had that.
No.
It was all just like, oh man, you messed up on this test, like that's it, you're like a bad boy or a bad girl or whatever. But I feel like if a growth mindset was to be established in these schools, like, hey, here's where you failed. Here's how we can make it better. Here's how you can grow from this experience.
This
And
is
I
what
think,
you're lacking to enable
yeah,
you to grow, because we're not all the same in the class. So
but just saying this now, I feel to some extent it's hard for kids who are, I don't know, 5 to 6 years old to really grasp this.
yeah, no, it's too young.
Yeah,
Right.
so I think
But
still,
because I'm around young children a lot. If you leave them in nature, they'll find that.
exactly.
They find that growth
Exactly.
mindset
Yeah.
naturally. It's a natural thing for them to find the solution when they're outside if something's going wrong.
Yeah.
If something's crossing a big stream or muddy puddles or anything, they have to work together and solve it. And if you just step back and leave children,
They'll find a solution to get over that bridge.
yeah, they'll find a solution to it all. They'll work their way out very easily. Like they're so connected already still to nature. It comes as they're going older that it can get cut off because you're sitting in a room all day. So that's where the disconnect can come, you see.
I do think that being a kid like 6 to 8 years old is completely different from being a kid from 6 to 8 years old in, I don't know, the 90s, 1990s, because there are so many different things. The lifestyles are so different, especially in America.
Yeah, it's I found that when I came here, actually,
Mhm.
working in the educational system globally, coming here, I was like, whoa, okay. I had to adapt and change quite a few things. And as much as each school is slightly different, they're not really, unless it's a small enrichment school. But I know what you mean. There's a completely different mindset. But I definitely think, having a school that's got a garden, looking after the garden, planting your vegetables, cooking, making food from the vegetables, or having a market, or having a small nature farm, or something needs to be there for them to know how to sustain themselves. And then the critical thinking course, is that something you're taking on the side? Is that a separate program that you found, or?
No, it's just it's actually one of the classes for general education to transfer to a college. It's an English and critical thinking class. I think.
Where did you find that? So where is that, if anyone was listening?
Oh yeah, it's at West Los Angeles College in Culver City.
So you go and attend that?
Yeah, it's part online, part in person. Yeah, and yeah, I think it's open for everyone. California has this great thing where students from kindergarten to 12th grade can take under 12 units of college classes completely for free.
Wow.
And this program has really opened a lot of doors in my life and made me aware to different aspects of education.
We'll have to get that information from you.
Yeah.
You wanted to just share, because we were looking at your, if you'd like to tell people about your family, your mom and dad's foundation called Love Button. If you could just tell people a little bit about that, because it is a really beautiful theme. It's very mindful as well in the way that it's been created, really. the way that they put messages on everything indoors and through the goods and the when they're handing out their blankets and the food. And I think it's lovely. If you just want to tell people a little bit about that, that'd be lovely.
Yeah. I mean, like we're talking about, our world right now is run on right or wrong or good or bad.
Correct.
But the one thing that is constant and in some places is severely lacking is love. Or in some, and just being loved by another human being, giving love, expressing love. And this was something that my family saw. And my dad, especially in medical school, saw there was a lack of just kindness, not only in medical school, just in the world. And so when my parents got married, they said, let's start something. Let's start a movement where we can just share love with the world. And that's how it started. We created this pin called the love button.
Yeah, so that's lovely.
Yeah, and that's how it started. Just by giving these pins and just giving people love. And we started by doing acts of service such as volunteering on Skid Row, volunteering in Africa, volunteering in just countries who need it. And that's when we started to get noticed by Coldplay.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, which is very famous British rock group. And
we know Chris. Yeah.
Not
personally, but yeah.
And so Chris and the band started, wearing the love buttons. And recently when they went on tour,
that's right. Yeah.
Every tour location, there would be, 50 to 70 love button volunteers, and they would come do volunteer work, whether that be in an orphanage or homeless shelter in that location. And they would receive a free ticket for their service. But I think it's just, spread, and that just shows how many people.
Exactly. That's what, I'm just about to say that. I just thought, you know what, in a world at this moment, the media is just showing, hate, I think, there's so much people, so many people doing so many beautiful things, so many loving things. And something like that is something that should be, used to go out onto a new platform, whereas only sharing love and obviously different people's opinions. That's okay. We're not saying not that, but there's like you're just saying, with the love button and what Coldplay are doing, and through your dad's organization, is just spreading that world of love and telling people they're loved and feeling loved is what will change our planet. I just want to ask you the last question before we go, because I did write it down. It just came to me now. Why do you feel you are here on this planet? Because I think every soul is here for a purpose. What do you think your soul purpose is?
Yeah. I think my sole purpose is to help people, to offer service to others, to support others, to see how I can grow, to see how other people can grow. I think career-wise, or what I want to devote my life to, it's definitely about people. People or music. Some of my passions include just language, music, sports, and I want to offer myself to others purely from a place of love, like we've been talking about. Because I think everyone, a human instinct is to be loved, to receive love, to give love as well.
Thank you, Hafez, for your time. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your knowledge. Thank you for being here. We'd like to thank everyone that's listening, everyone that's sharing A Voice for Children, because it's really important that you share these videos to help other youth around the world, not just listening for yourself, to really share and help. It really makes a difference and could impact and even save a life. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for our listeners for listening. I know we've been, it's always about 45 minutes to an hour, but we really appreciate you taking the time to listen to us, to support, and our foundation, our Children's Foundation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you listeners as well.
Thanks,
Have a great day.